Hello and welcome back to Take Refuge 3D, where, as you may already know, we're all about companionship. And what better of a companion video to the modeling tutorial I did for Plasticity on 3D modeling the companion cube from Portal than this one on how to texture and animate it using Blender, which in its own right is a wonderful companion Plasticity due to the Blender Bridge plugin provided by the Plasticity team. As you may know, Blender uses polygons, which is any shape with 3 or more sides, and then you join a bunch of polygons together to make a shape, and that's how Blender works. And as you can see here, I have the companion cube in Blender in its polygonal form. Plasticity, on the other hand, uses a CAD kernel or a CAD algorithm to mathematically, now my knowledge is a little bit fuzzy here, but basically it's mathematical equations to generate that shape. So although this might be a polygon, it's not calculated as a polygon in the way that Blender would use it. Now this means that you can do some things in Plasticity that are very hard to do or impossible in polygon modeling due to the way that it works, and you can get much better hard surfaces a lot quicker. But what happens when you want to take that into a polygon based software such as Blender or a game engine or something like that? You have to convert it. Now you can export these as polygon models by going export and choosing a polygon based format such as OBJ, or you can set up the Blender Bridge. I did a full tutorial on that, so go check it out if you want to know how to set that up. But just quickly, in preferences, you just need to make sure that you've enabled the server. Okay, that means that we can connect Plasticity to Blender, and then going back to Blender, we'll just start a new scene. Okay, general, don't save, I've already saved that one, and we'll just delete that. Now you have to set up the Plasticity plugin like you would any other plugin. Like I said, I've already done a video on that. Once you've got that set up, you can go to the Plasticity plugin on the N panel by pressing N on your keyboard to get that up, and then we need to select only visible, and then we can refresh that from Blender. Okay, and I think just for the sake of this, I'm going to turn off the floor and the axes, so we've just got this sort of nice space to work in. Okay, once we go into edit mode by pressing tab in Blender, okay, you'll see that it has come in as a triangulated based mesh, or we can refacet it into an n-gon based mesh as well. I think it might be a bit easier to use n-gons in this case. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a base material for the asset, and we'll just call this, you can double click on that, or you can press F2 to rename. We're going to call this material outer, or actually we'll call it outer material. Okay, and then what we can do, we can see that we go into this this mode here, and if we change our base color to gray or black, you can see that we can change that material color. So we'll just leave that as a middling gray for now. We'll edit these a little bit later. Okay, and as you can see what we've got here, if we press 3, or you can go up here just like Plasticity, you can select point, edge, or face mode. We'll go into face mode, and we're just going to select these 4 faces, okay, on each of the 6 sides of the cube. Okay, and if you accidentally, what we're doing is we're shift clicking just like we would in Plasticity to select more faces. If you select something you don't want to select, you can control click to deselect it. Okay, so we've just selected all of those faces here, and we can create a new material and we'll just assign that for now. Okay, and then finally we want to do the same with our love hearts and our little cavities here. So we can select these. I might just speed this up because this is a little bit laborious. Okay. Select plasticity faces, and that's all selected. Okay. And we'll just create another new material and we'll assign that to that one. Okay. And then what we might just do is create a new material for this one, and we'll get our emission straight in. We'll get our bright magenta emission, and we'll just turn the strength up like that. Okay. And you can see that that's working. So now we want to do the same for our love heart. And just selecting as many faces as you can from these engons, deselecting anything, select plasticity faces. Okay, and then we can just assign that one to that one as well. Okay, and then what you want to do is you'll do it for all of the rest of the sides as well. So I will speed this part up, but you can just follow the same process for all sides. Okay. And then once you've selected it on another side, you can just go in and assign that there as well. Okay. So we're starting to get it on all of the other sides. Okay, and then we're just going to assign that material to it again. Okay, and there we've got it. All sides have been, everything that we need to have done is done. So what we do need to do is add a material for this middle material. Okay, so we're just going to give this a light grey as well. And I think we want to make a darker grey for the inner sides. And it's really up to you, but you can make this glossy or fine or whatever. Okay, I'm going to make that a little bit glossy just to give it a little bit of gloss. Okay, and we've got that all pretty much covered in a material. Now for the animation side of things, if you wanted to do a little quick animator, you can press 0 to get your camera mode in. Okay, or if you're facing the object like that, you can press Control-Shift-0, and that will bring it in. And then you can go up to your view mode, and then you can lock camera to view, if you can see that over there. Alright, I've got it set to my quick favorites. Okay, but you can lock camera to view. That means as you zoom in and out, when you're in camera mode by pressing 0 on the numpad, the camera will also zoom in and out. Now, with your camera selected, which mine's hidden away over here, so I'm just going to select the camera. You can go into the camera settings and you can change the perspective, I think. And essentially, if you don't know much about cameras, a low number means a wide angle, like so, 8mm. And then as you bring it up, you get a less of a wide angle in millimeters. So if we're up to like 180 or 212 in this case, we're pretty much in almost an orthographic perspective. We can actually change the camera to be orthographic, and you'll see like that. Doesn't matter how much we zoom in or out, the object won't change size. Okay, and you need to use this slider here to change the size of the object. So I actually I want to be in perspective with about 212, which is almost orthographic, but not quite. We'll call that 180. Okay, so another thing is the render engine. So if you go up to this little folder up here called render, we're currently in cycles. We actually, just for this project, we want to be in EV. Okay, and we'll take it into, and this may be different for you, but if you take it into rendered mode, okay, now you can bring in an HDRI, which I might do, or you can change your world settings to be a a simple color. So maybe we'll just keep the background as a simple color to keep things easy. Okay, but you can bring in an HDRI if you want. That's a whole different ballpark. But just for this tutorial, we will use a basic color on the world settings. Maybe give it a little bit of something like that. Okay, I don't think we'll bring any lights in or anything like that. And we can actually go Shift A, and we can bring in a mesh plane, drag it down to just below the object and scale that up by about 10, so that we've got a floor for our object to sit on. Now back in our render settings, we want a few things turned on, like ambient occlusion. Okay, so turn your ambient occlusion on, and you'll notice as you play with these sliders, you'll get different effects. So I actually want that to be about there. If we drag our floor down a little bit, we might get a bit more of a shadow. Bloom. Okay, I had that already turned on. You might not have it turned on yet, but once you turn bloom on, we've already got a light in our scene. Can you see that blue? I'm just going to get rid of that. Okay. So we'll turn our bloom on, and what you can see there, if you press this little triangle here, we turn the intensity down. This is the emission that we set up earlier on. Okay, so we can turn the intensity up, you can turn the radius right up, and then if you bring the threshold down, it will sort of cover the whole scene. So you want the threshold to be sort of somewhere mid, radius for this case reasonably high, intensity quite high because this is a glowing object. Now if we go down to the bottom of our render settings, you'll see that we're in filmic mode. There is a new mode which has a better color spectrum than filmic, so that's called AGX. So we're just going to change that to AGX. Okay, and you'll notice that suddenly our material, you can see that the glowing part is more white, which is a bit more like how a neon light would behave. So if we click on our cube again, we can try bring down the intensity of the bloom. And if we go to our material, we go to this material here, we might want to bring down the strength a little bit, but I think this looks great. Okay, and then also you can turn screen space reflections on or off. If we turn them off, you can see that we get a little bit more of that light coming up. Now this is an Eevee thing. For example, if we change to cycles, it's going to be a completely different situation. And I have no idea why cycles has decided not to denoise in this case. Very odd. Anyway, we're working with an Eevee anyway. So we've got that there. What we might want to do is actually add a light in. So we'll just bring a point in and just drag it up over here. We'll give that light a slightly orange color. We'll Shift D and we'll bring it across and forward and across again, and we'll give that a new one. We'll give that a blue color. Okay, so that's basically it for the rendering modes. We can kind of turn that off for now. Or maybe I'm gonna, where's our floor? So we're gonna unlock our camera for a second, look at our floor, and let's make the floor really reflective, just for fun. So we'll go down to the material of the floor, add a new one, make the base color kind of a bit darker. We'll bring the metallic right up, and we'll bring the roughness right up as well. Okay, and where's our light? Let's just see what we can do with this light. And we want to turn screen space reflections back on. And maybe bring our world color I'm just understanding why the reflections are not working. So, we got our roughness really high on this one. Okay, here we go. Lock our camera to the view, and what we'll do is we'll make this camera, so it's 1920 by 1080. We'll just make it 1300 by 1300, which is a great mode for social media. Okay, and under our screen space reflections, we'll turn half res off, and we'll turn our trace precision up. And we've got this metallic floor. We can even bring the roughness down even further. And what we might do is just... No, I think that's great. I think that's great. Okay, so for the animation side of things, come down to the bottom of your screen if you do not see the timeline. And you can just drag that up. And we can click on this and we can go over to timeline and we can add that there. Select our cube. Make sure that we're set to frame 1, which you can do by going all the way back there. Press I in the middle of your viewport and then just select rotation. Click this button here to jump to the end point. Okay. And press R on your keyboard. 360 on your numpad with the Z key. Actually, R on your keyboard, lock it to the Z axis, press 359, so it's gone by 359 degrees on the Z axis. Press enter, and then press I again and click rotation again. And now that should rotate there. And there, you've pretty much got your animation. You can hit render at this point. However, that's slowing down and stopping because it's using a certain curve. So if we bring another one of these up and we go to our dope sheet, what do you call it, graph editor, you can see that Z axis there is doing its own thing. So if we just hover over this, you can see these different interpolations. Okay, so we can just choose linear, and you'll see that becomes a straight line rather than a curve. So if we go back a step, see how that's a curve, and we just change that to linear, you'll get a rotation like that. And we can hit render and pretty much done.